This is the Valley's news talk and podcasts. Talk Central Phoenix, a Central City radio station.
It's time for the Chips and Salsa Show.
The only show about Latinos for Latinos. And did we mention Latinos?
It's the Latísima.
Latinos come in all flavors, shapes, and sizes. You don't have to be Latino to enjoy chips and salsa.
Everybody loves chips and salsa.
And guess what, boys and girls, chipsters, chipsteros, chipsteras? It's time for the Chips and Salsa Show. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Alice Stott. I'm here with
Don Jorge Alacran.
We're here every Tuesday at 4 p.m. We exist because we're brown, but guess what? We are not Democrats. We are conservative Republicans. And George has a special hat today. George, kind of put that close to the camera. You know, George that's like one of my favorites now. Oh my goodness. Nice. Very nice. Where'd you get that hat, George?
At the
America Fest? Oh, you bought two hats there.
Yeah, I bought one for Eric and one for myself.
Nice.
And then I got the other one too.
Nice. So I want to give a shout out real quick to owner and founder of Central City Radio, Talk Central Phoenix. That's Julian Allison behind the glass. Woo! And his assistant sound engineer, Mr. Rock there, rocking it always. Thank you very, very much. Okay, we got a really good show. We're going to do a quick segment here with housekeeping things and stuff. And the whole show is going to be devoted to, it's more local Arizona, legislative district stuff because of redistricting. But even if you don't live in Arizona, you would probably still be interested in the dynamics of everything that works. So we want to give you time to share this and have people tune in. It would be great. I want to say also, if you haven't yet, please download the Central City Radio app. You got it downloaded, George?
Yes.
Right on. And his phone is charging, so that's why he can't look at it right now.
I can't look at it right now because it's in charge.
And then we're also on iHeartRadio.
iHeartRadio.
And there's a bit of a transition. So, like, if you go there now, you'll just get the last show. But very soon, you're going to be able to get all of our shows there.
The whole enchilada.
Yeah, something happens, and you say, oh, gosh, I can't listen right now.
You can listen to our library. We'll have a library of shows.
Yeah, go back and listen to it. And then also, we are on MeWe. And I just want to read this real quick from number 45. So this is from Alice in Wonderland, which is, if you're on MeWe, it's a good site. I share a lot of stuff there on our page. So Donald J. Trump, breaking news, Russia just sanctioned Joe Biden. Well, that's a terrible thing so many ways. Perhaps it will now be explained why the Biden family received $3.5 million from the very wealthy former mayor of Moscow's wife. During our presidential debate, moderator Chris Wallace, then of Fox, would not let me ask that question. He said it was inappropriate. Wish I could do a Trump impersonation. Perhaps that's why Biden has been so slow on the draw with Russia. This is a really bad conflict of interest that will perhaps now be fully and finally revealed. So if you want to go, and I put a picture of your hat up there too. It's pretty funny. What else? Also, there's a lot of stuff going on. Carrie Lake releases a TV ad during her former TV show when she was an anchor, and basically she's saying, don't watch this. It's hilarious.
Well, she walked off the stage on one of them. I was reading. They started asking her questions about January 6th, stuff that had nothing to do with her running for governor, and they tried to put her on the spot because Trump has endorsed her. And she says, ask me relevant questions, stuff. They didn't. That guy just kept hammering, so she just got up and walked off.
She doesn't take their guff, really. And then I also, this is a cocotazo, I think. Did you see this? USA Today names Rachel Levine one of their Women of the Year. Now, if you don't know who Rachel Levine is, please go to our MeWe site, and you'll see that I'll call Mr. Rachel. Mr. Rachel. Anyway, I give that the cocotazo. How about you, George? And then we have, it's of course, a pain in the gas. What are you paying for gas now?
It's up to $4.59 almost everywhere, but I went to the Costco. I got it for $4.39.
Oh, Costco, $4.39. Yeah.
At only one Costco. The other Costco's all have basically was it $4.59? They'll go up to maybe $4.
They're a little higher.
Yeah.
So yours is the only one.
It was at $4.59, so they might go $4.49, but the one I went to is $4.39. It's the lowest of any of them. So
there's also the most epic takedown by O'Reilly. Let's see if I can play a little bit of this because
the election, you put this man in office, even if you despise Donald Trump, it's going to be bad. I didn't think it would be this bad. No one did.
This is O'Reilly.
But he is a puppet of the progressive left. And can we now just stop the progressive left? Can we stop?
Now,
but you know,
I'd like to pay all of it. We don't have time to do it, but please go on our MeWe site.
But you know, when they elected him president, I said we were screwed.
Yeah.
And I knew we were. You know, I knew we were screwed, and it's coming to pass.
Everything's out there.
We're screwed.
And then Kamala,
until we change it, and we'll change it hopefully.
Kamala. So what we have coming up, we've got two great Republican women. They're both running for chairs of their districts.
Yes.
And I've known both of them for a while, especially Cheryl. I've known her for a while. So we have Cheryl Rosado, Rosado. She's from my district, which is legislative district number 27 now. It's going to become 11 because of redistricting. And yours is, we have Shelby here.
Yeah, it's LD 19 as of yesterday. Now it's changing to LD 22. We're officially LD 22 now. And we incorporated them into LD19, and they became LD22. But we're the kind of the dominant one because we have the most precincts and stuff. But we absorbed 5 more precincts. We lost 2 from our original LD, but we gained 5 to 6. So we became a bigger legislative district.
And we'll explain it more, but just basically in Arizona we have 30 legislative districts. In each district there are 2 House representatives for the Arizona legislature and 1 state senator. And then all of those districts are separated, like George says, into little precincts, smaller ones. And this represents the most basic level of representation, which was set up by Abraham Lincoln, the great, great Republican. I want to wish a happy birthday to my good friend Debbie Westrom. Debbie, happy birthday to you. I hope you're having a great one. Any birthdays on your side?
No, but yeah.
No. And coming up is St. Patrick's Day. Is your birthday, Rock? Man. St. Patrick's Day is coming up on the 17th, so wear your green, man. Wear your green. Okay, let's see. Any whole enchiladas? Who's been... Oh, you know what I saw today? Okay, what show was it on? I think it was... Oh, got 1 minute? All right. Well, there, if I can find it, I will post it. But it's police officers. Did you see that, Rock? And they're looking for a suspect. The dude hides behind a van.
You're right there in front
lays
of him.
down, and they can't find him. It's like somebody said, oh, I saw it on Gutfeld.
It's like the Keystone Cops.
They need to put, the Benny Hill music.
Yeah, because he walked right by the car, and the guy's laying right there, and he looks like that, looks both ways.
Not good for our police officers.
It's crazy.
They do finally get him. Okay, so don't go away. We'll be right back to walk on some more. I'm Alice Lara.
With Don Jorge.
And we'll be back with more of the Chips and Salsa Show here on Central City Radio, Talk Central Phoenix. Stay with us.
The Valley's home for podcasts. Talk Central Phoenix.
Chips and salsa.
Well, sir, while I may not agree with what you say, I'll defend to the death your right to say it.
We are back. This is the Chips and Salsa Show. My name is Alice Lara, and right next to me, who's to the left of me, but he's very right, is...
Don Jorge.
Alacran. Yes, okay. As promised, let me just put my water away, excuse me. We have 2 great guests, 2 wonderful, staunch, and reliable conservative Republican women, friends of ours. And so I'm going to introduce them to you, and we're going to talk about legislative district business in Arizona. But as I said, even if you're watching from out of state, you still want to probably watch because you could work with some dynamics of your own state, and you may not even know how your state operates, but it could make you get interested in that. So on my right is my good friend Cheryl Rosado. Welcome.
Hello, thank you.
Cheryl is the secretary for our legislative district, which is now number 27, but because of redistricting that happens every 10 years, and especially in Arizona, where we grow and grow and grow, these districts are changing. So now we're going to become 11, and she happens to be very interested in now running to be chairwoman of the district. So thank you for being here today on Chips and Salsa.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate it.
11, that's a good number.
Yeah, and then, and that's my district. And then, George, you want to introduce Shelby?
Shelby is our current chairman, and of LD 19, they just got absorbed by, we switched to LD 22, but we're the dominant LD, so actually we absorbed LD 22, but we are LD 22 now. We're not LD 19 anymore. Yesterday was our last LD 19 meeting. Starting next week will be LD. Well, starting right now, we're LD 22, and Shelby Busch is running for chairman, and she's going to appoint her name. We'll have on the floor nominations. And
she's the current chairwoman,
she's
right?
The current chairwoman. She's doing a great job. Plus, she has an organization. I don't know. You might want to.
We'll probably talk about that in the next segment.
Yes.
So just to re-explain, in the state of Arizona, we have 30 legislative districts for Arizona legislature. And as I told you before, there are 2 state representatives that are elected in each district and 1 state senator every 2 years. And every district has so many precincts. So all the districts have a chair. This is within the Republican Party, how it's set up. And I think it's different in different states. It's not always the same setup. Yeah. But we have a chair of each district. And then there's officers there, and that's how we get all our business done. And it's important because we have the precinct committeemen, of which we are, and we have certain roles. And we can get that more explained for you. But the reason I wanted to have you guys on is because this is kind of tricky, the transition. You know, we're used to having everything the same way, then zap, 10 years, we got to change it to allow for all the geography. So I'm going to ask you, Shelby, to kind of explain that a little bit. You don't have to go into great detail, but kind of the dynamic somebody can understand out there of why we have to do this and what it involves.
Sure. So every 10 years, because of census, we have to redistrict all the precincts, redistrict the legislative districts, just to make sure that population is accounted for. We want to make sure everybody's equally represented. So once that happens and the redistricting council forms those LDs, forms those precincts, then they go to the county elections departments, the county recorders, then they review it, they make sure everything meshes up, they fix any lines that are in the wrong place, and then from there the boards of supervisors of each county, they approve those. Once that happens, the clock begins, and we have 30 days from the date that those maps are approved to restructure our entire LD. Wow. So we have to hold an election, we have to appoint new officers, elect new officers, we have to do banking transitions, tax ID changes. So right now, in the midst of a very important 2022 election, we've got a lot of work to do, and we need to do it fast and get it over with so that we can focus on the elections, because it really does change a lot of things for a lot of people. We're making new relationships, meeting new people, new leadership. So that's kind of a rundown.
That's a really good explanation. And like, for example, Cheryl right now is our secretary.
Yes.
And our current chair, see, Shelby is the current chair, and she's going to run again to be the chair of this LD22. But we're losing our chair because her particular precinct was cut out of the redistricting. So it's even a little more complicated for us. Mm-hmm. So let's just real quick give us the reason that you would like to run for chair and why you'd make a wonderful one.
Thanks. I have a lot of ideas. I really want to focus on fundraising for our LD. I feel like we've been so busy that we've kind of let that fall to the wayside, and that's really important. We need funds. We need to be able to do things and have outreaches, and I want to reach. Of course, we want to sign up PCs and get signatures, but also I want to reach out to Republicans that are just in our LD, because sometimes it takes people a while before they are willing to become a PC, and I know that was the situation for me. I was involved for at least 3 years, volunteering, walking, canvassing and doing all that kind of stuff before I was able to say, okay, I'll be a PC. So you have to nurture relationships, and so to do that, we need to reach out to not just people who are immediately ready to say I'm a PC, but maybe somebody who's like, I want to be active, but I don't know. I'm not really to put myself too much out there.
You're so right, because there's a lot of untapped talent.
There
we
is.
go way back from like 10 years. We were figuring it out from other elections. Then, these guys, I think their first kid was just born as a little baby when I knew you. And there's just, the precinct committeeman is like your most basic representation. Mm-hmm. It's really set up well. And then we had some drama that went on in our legislature about that. And we're going to talk about that in the next segment. Shelby's going to bring us up to date. So now let's give Shelby a chance. And you are already a chair, but why do you think you should remain chair?
Well, I think right now the party in general, the people of the party, the leadership of the party, we're in a new era. Things are changing, and I think we need new and fresh ideas. We need people that will hold firm to our principles, not sell us out. Unfortunately, in the past, we've seen people get into these positions because they have these ambitions and they want to use it as a stepping stone. And I think the tides have changed. I think the grassroots are super energized. I think we have an opportunity here in our country to really instill those Republican principles and values that we all hold dear. And so I want to remain chair so that I can ensure that we continue to move in the right direction of the party and make sure that those principles are always in the forefront, because if our leadership sells out our principles, we cannot expect the people of the community to trust us or to believe in what we believe in.
And as a lot of you know out there, Arizona seems to be always in the news, but our state is changing and growing so quickly. We've got the California people that they're tired of California or they can't afford it, so they're coming to Arizona, and the weather is great here, unless you don't like the heat. Can't handle the heat. Get out of the kitchen, get out of Arizona. But we have so much growth that's happening and it's quickly. And a lot of times, some people are so new, but it's amazing. While we're afraid that they might come here and not be conservatives and Republicans, I know within my women's club in our own district, we have a lot of people that's why they come here, because we are conservative and Republican. Wouldn't you say so, Cheryl?
Definitely.
Is that your experience?
Yes, and right now, our LD has historic numbers of PCs. We've never had this many PCs, and it's because of people that are moving here and then they want to get involved, and that's great. That's what we want.
And we're seeing a growth too in our legislative district. We're starting to get more people wanting to be PCs, and we're going out and finding out that people want to be involved.
And I'm just going to ask you to get a little closer to the microphone, too. So George and I are sharing that way all four of us can be in the picture.
Sorry about that.
Just got the signal from Rock, so just remember, get closer to the mic.
And we even got two people running for legislator, right? One for Senate, one for House.
That's correct.
And that's unheard of in our LD. We haven't had that in a long time.
Because you guys have a lot of Democrats like we do.
Oh, yeah, we're in a Democratic area. So, but we get people stepping up now and wanting to run for the House and the Senate. So this is going to be a battle going in there, and we're all going to help them. We're going to support them, and we're going to make it happen. Thanks to our chairman. Our chairman is fantastic, and she's doing a great job. And we're lucky to have her as a chairman. And we have some people in our LD that are doing other things for the Republican Party that most LDs you don't see that. And we're starting to become a good LD legislative district.
That goes into a good question, and this is probably for both of you. So, as we have had challenges, as we talked about, because there's so many Democrats there. But how will you reach out to people in your district and really try? I mean, even some of these Democrats, I know Tatiana, who's running for House in RLD. When you go canvassing, which means you go out and knock on doors and talk to people, there are a lot of people who are not happy with the Democrat Party. What are some of your ideas that you want to implement? And you don't have to reveal all your secrets in case you don't.
Well, I think the first start when you're out canvassing is to get their attention, get them to answer the door, right? Have that segue in. So one thing that I did is I had these postcards made up that on one side it talks about precinct committeemen and the elected office. Then when you flip it over, it has some of our lists of values, what we believe in, what we hold as value. And then it says, you are now Legislative District 22. So it gives the PCs kind of an opportunity to go knock on their accountability list door and say, did you know our LD changed? You're in a new LD now. Maybe you have a new precinct. So I think, for starters, just getting that segue in and finding a way to communicate and an excuse to communicate. It's about education, in my opinion. We have to educate people, and a wise pastor once told me, before you can speak truths into someone's life, you have to first earn the right. So I think going to these doors and just talking to them about the community, what they value, and informing them on what's going on in the legislation, because most people don't know. I think that's how we start reaching people.
I think that's a good approach. We talked to, was it Kelly Cooper, I think, George? And he's running for Congress. And his wife was in Ahwatukee. and she was going around trying to get signatures, and a young man said, "Oh, is he a Republican?" and spit in her face. All right, so there's nastiness out there too. But one thing that I can say about our party, at least it's been my experience, we are conservatives. So I think the treatment is going to be very good, is what I've seen. And, I'm going to turn it to you, Cheryl, and ask you, what are your ideas, or something maybe that's you've done a little bit differently, or people don't think about doing when they're out there talking to prospects, I'll call them?
Well, I was thinking, I had an idea. We were just at the Levine barbecue. We had a booth there, and I wanted to put together like a presentation board like kids use in like science class, when they have an experiment. And I went through with Alice, and we took pictures of different things and people in our LD from all the way back when I first started in 2009, and just put all kinds of pictures to show different events we've done and to show different people. And you can see there's a wide range of ages and races. Like, we're all involved. It's not just old white men, you know what I mean? That's the perception. And so I think one thing that we need to do is get people knocking on doors so that you can show yourself. Don't be afraid, because people want to see that you're a real person. And that's what I wanted to do with the board that I had in the display. I wanted people to see we're real people. We were Latinos for Trump. We're not just the stereotype that people think of as the Republican Party. We're regular people. We have the same values, and that's a key thing, especially for the demographics in South Phoenix and Levine, is that so many of them will say, well, I'm a Democrat. And then you say, do you believe in, 2A? Do you believe in, security for your family? Do you believe in school choice? And it's like, yes.
Right.
Pro-life. Yes, pro-life. Pro-family, those are values that we all share. They just aren't. I feel like the Republican Party hasn't done a great job of letting people know what we're about. We've let other people direct the narrative that we're, stingy people or unloving people, and that's totally not the case.
It is totally not. And, it's
tickle in my throat.
He's got a tickle. Yeah. George is going to get her some more water. I'm sorry. I thought you had some water.
I am so sorry.
For you. Rock's going to take care of it, George.
Goodness.
Happens when you least expect it.
Wow. That's right. She's just so excited to be here. That's what happens. But the cool thing too, like we just had a little gathering at my house on Sunday.
Yep.
And even if you just talk to your neighbors, because one thing, if you become a precinct committeeman, then you represent your community and you have access. So you can walk your neighborhood and you can find out who's an independent, who's a Republican, who's a Democrat, and you can reach out to them. And a lot of times you might knock on their door and they're like, well, you know what, I'm a Democrat, but I am so unsatisfied with my party right now. Well, there is an opportunity. And we're all about restoring our republic, I think, right now. Is what
yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, we're coming up on a break. We'll be right back. We can talk a little bit more about this. You're going to bring us up to date on HB 2839, transition with that. Really appreciate you guys tuning in today. This is all about Arizona, and we're going to promote that event too. Oh, thank you very much. So my name is Alice Lara.
And I'm Don Jorge.
And we are talking to Shelby Busch. She's the current chairman right now of LD 19, soon to be 22. And also we're talking to Cheryl Rosado, who is the secretary for LD 27, soon to be 11. So don't go away. We'll be right back to guac on some more here on Central City Radio, Talk Central Phoenix. Stay with us, por favor.
This is the Valley's News.
About anything.
We are back. This is the Chips and Salsa Show, heard here every Tuesday at 4 p.m. My name is Alice Lara, and I'm here with
Don Jorge.
We are your co-hosts for the Chips and Salsa Show in our 8th year. I can't believe it. Hijola.
We put up with each other for 8 years.
I know. He's my partner in radio crime forever. We have a really good show, and sometimes the best part of the show is during the commercial break, and maybe we can talk a little bit about what we talked about. But I have two great guests. On my right, who's very right, is Cheryl Rosado, and she is our secretary right now for my legislative district 27, which will soon become number 11. She's running for our district chair. And full disclosure, If there is anybody else within our district who is interested in running, I've asked them to contact me, and we will have them on as well, because this is all about highlighting Republicans. Right. Yep. So just email me, contact me. We'll get you on. And then also we have on the left, but certainly not left because she's very right as well, is Shelby Busch, who is the current legislative district chairman for number 19, and that's soon to become number 22. Did I get those numbers right? I'm amazed.
Yeah.
Yes.
LD 22.
That's amazing.
It's impressive.
All right. Okay. So what we were talking about during the commercial is how the PND, which is party non-declared. And why don't you explained that so well, because in Arizona, I think Arizona best reflects the nation because of the way how many Republicans, Democrats, and independents are. Explain a little bit about that and how that dynamic's working right now.
Sure. So Arizona is one of those interesting states where the independents actually control the vote. We have independents that already outweigh both the Republican and the Democrat Party now. So for the first time, we have become less Republican and more independent in a really long time. The good news is that even though the PNDs, or the party not declared, is increasing substantially, the Republican Party is still trending higher than the Democrats. But I think
Let me interrupt you for 2 seconds. So PND, party not declared, is that the same as independents virtually, or are they any different?
It's virtually the same thing. It's virtually the same thing. And the thing is I think most people are realizing that they're not Democrats. They're seeing what's happening, and they're understanding, I don't feel like this party represents me anymore. But they're not necessarily sold in the Republican Party either. Mm-hmm. Maybe they don't trust the party. They've seen things they don't agree with or don't believe in. And so they're not ready to make that leap and actually switch over to Republican or even register Republican for the first time. But I believe they are going to lean in our favor. And I believe that they share a lot of our values and principles. They're just not quite ready. Steve was talking to one of our neighbors who is 2 doors down. He's been an independent his whole life. He's a family man, has children. And he said, well, what is your registered party? And he says, I'm registered party not declared. I'm an independent. And Steve said, why? And he says, well, we've had Romney, we've had McCain, we've had all these things, and I just don't know that I trust the Republican Party. And, Steve said, you need to go right now and change your party affiliation to Republican, because if you don't like what the Republican Party is putting forward, the only way to change that is to become involved. Mm-hmm. And I think we need to educate people and tell them, if you don't like what you see, that's the beauty and the power of being a precinct committeeman, is you can change it.
That's very well said, and I want to also let the audience know. So once we start having our regular meetings again, if you are a registered Republican, you can attend the meetings. Mm-hmm. And they are Republican meetings. So, like, if you're a Democrat, I'm sorry, but you're not allowed our meetings. Just like we can't go to a Democrat LD meeting either. But just think about that. So even if you don't necessarily think you're ready to become a precinct committeeman, come and find out what we're all about. And maybe you'll be surprised. You can talk to other people, get their feelings. And I'm not sure about independence. I think you have to be a Republican to attend the meetings, right? According to Mike.
Yes.
I mean, it might be a special deal where you're an independent and we invite you. I don't know. It would be super special. But that's even another reason to change your party to Republican, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. To be involved.
Because the 3 main parties here is Libertarian, Democrat, and Republican. And usually Libertarian, you don't hear too much about that. It's a small party.
It's a few percentage points, I think.
0.08%.
Oh, it's not even a few percentage points.
Right, it's 0.08% right now.
Now, isn't that interesting?
The voting electorate.
Do you think because maybe a lot of libertarians, they smarten up too and just they become Republicans?
I do think so. I think libertarians are Republican leaning.
Well, some of the ones I know, they are Republicans, but they term themselves as libertarian because some of the things that the Republican Party stands for, they don't. But then they're diehard Republicans, some of them. I mean, it's just, I said, why don't you just become a Republican, but they like that title.
But we have a challenge. You're right about that, and it's going to be education, take a lot of things. Okay, this is Let's see, guys, this is our last segment, right? And it's going to go a little longer because I'm cutting out. And if all of a sudden I'm not here, it's because I had to leave and George will take over. But I want to make sure we get to this announcement. Shelby, do you want to tell us about that?
Sure. So one thing, so I chair and co-founded with Steve Robinson, We the People AZ Alliance, and we are an action-driven political action committee. And one thing that we had envisioned is, I don't know about you guys, but I am constantly hearing, I want to help, I want to do something, I don't know what to do.
Yes.
And that seems to be the number one thing. And we oftentimes will plug volunteers in by telling them what to do, but it's not their gifting, it's not something they're passionate about, and then we lose them. So our idea is to host like a job fair, but for volunteers,
Great
for
idea.
for conservatism, constitutional principles, and so it's a volunteer recruitment event, and all grassroots are invited to set up a booth, and we're going to give as many people as we can speaking time. So if you're a candidate, if you're a grassroots organization, a nonprofit, and you want to have a booth, you want to speak, the idea is to bring people together so that they can interview organizations and candidates and vice versa to find good fits of where they can plug in. And it's the Arizona Battle Cry event. We are in the fight for 2022, and everybody needs to be engaged in that fight. So this is where people can gather to find out where their place is.
All right, and give that to me for just a moment.
Sure.
And you've made these beautiful flyers. In fact, someone brought them to my house.
I saw them
also
there.
too, and I meant to bring them here to leave them. But it's going to be Wesley Bolin Memorial Plaza, and that's down there at the Capitol. Okay, so 1700 West Washington, and that's April 2nd. So the day after April Fool's. Remember that, okay? Not April Fool's Day, but April 2nd. And that's going to be from 11 in the morning to 3 p.m. Now, if they want to set up a booth, who do they contact? Do they just show up or what?
So they can email us at wethepeopleaz@protonmail.com.
Okay.
And we can get them set up, get them an application, get them all set up so that they'll have a booth, and then get them in the speaking lineup.
How much does that cost?
So it's, if you can't afford it, we're scholarshiping people. It's a $50 booth charge. But we don't want any candidates or any grassroots left behind. We know there's a lot of moms and action groups and things like that. They don't fundraise. They don't have a budget. But their message is still as important. So it's a recommended $50 donation for the booth space. But if you can't afford it, you just check you can't afford it, and we still want to have you there.
So they supply the table, or you have to supply?
You bring your own table and canopy and chairs.
It's for a spot.
It's for a spot.
Great.
And they have a stage that's going to be set up?
Yep, we're going to have a stage, and we're going to give people an opportunity to talk and share what it is their groups are working on.
That's good.
This is Saturday, too? April 2nd is a Saturday?
It's a Saturday.
Okay, Saturday. And then will you have legislative districts might have their separate booths as well?
Absolutely. Yep,
Okay.
they're absolutely invited. Legislative district groups, county clubs.
Now, do you have
anybody
any
that wants to show up.
political rock stars coming, like Donald Trump or something coming? He's invited, right?
We're
inviting you right now on the air.
We really, really want to focus on the grassroots. We can now America Project. Steve and I work very closely with America Project. That's General Flynn and Patrick Byrne. So there's a possibility we may ask one of them to come down and speak or Zoom them in. But we really want the focus. The political celebrity thing, it's great, but this is about the people and how to engage them. So we really want this to be, the stars should be those people that are out fighting in the streets.
And really, you are so right, because, we've been doing this a long time. I know you're a little bit newer to it, but you've been very, very hardworking, and George has too. There are so many people that have devoted their time and effort and are just really strong, wonderful, loyal Republicans. And even if you don't get a booth, go, because you'll meet them. All right, we're going to go. We take one more little break, and then we'll come back for the last part of the show. And I want you guys to be ready to give where you meet and what dates you meet for your LDs, so we can invite people out there to come and be thinking of anything that we haven't touched on. We are going to talk about the update for the House Bill 2839. Shelby's going to give us the latest on that. And I thank you for tuning in. We still have one more segment, so don't go away. My name is Alice Lara.
Don Holher.
We're talking to Shelby Busch, who is the current chairwoman for LD
22.
And right now it's 19, but it'll be 22. And we have Cheryl Rosado, who's running for the chairwoman for LD 27, which is turning to 11. At least they rhyme, right?
Yep.
So we'll be right back with more of the Chips and Salsa Show here on Central City Radio, Talk Central Phoenix.
A Central City radio station.
Take it away, esto.
George, it's a good show because it's going so fast, no?
Oh, we have a plethora of things to talk about.
Plethora. This is the Chips and Salsa Show. Thank you for tuning in. We're here every Tuesday at 4 p.m. I'm Alice Lara, aquí con
Don Jorge El Alacran.
and we are proof that just because you're brown don't mean you're Democrat, because we are not. We used to be.
Yeah, used to be.
But we are Republicans. We've got two fantastic guests. We have on my right Cheryl Rosado. She is the current secretary for LD 27, soon to be LD 11. She wants to run for the chair of Legislative District. And
Shelby Busch, current chairman of LD 19, soon to be LD 22.
it's going to be tricky, changing. It really is.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so what we want to cover today, we got a short segment, but we want to bring you up to date on House Bill 2839. So kind of explain a little bit of what happened and then where we are now, Shelby. Thank you.
Sure. Yes. So,
wait. I'm sorry. Before you do that, say where you guys meet and what day, real quick. I don't want us not to forget to do that.
Sure. So, LD 19, soon to be 22, we meet on the second Monday of the month at 6:30 at Jenny G's Restaurant, which is on 74th Avenue and Indian School Road.
Great. And Cheryl, we meet?
We meet the second Tuesday of the month. We have potluck from 6 to 7. Meeting starts at 7. Right now we're meeting at Southgate Church on 20th Street and Baseline.
2020 East Baseline, I think.
Right. If you need information, it's info number 4 southmountaingop@gmail.com.
Excellent. Okay, now continue on. 2839.
Sure. Okay, so 2839. We have a lot of candidates that are running not only in legislative districts, but in congressional districts that still do not know how many signatures they need to qualify for the ballot. Unfortunately, it shows a lot of incompetence in our Secretary of State's office. And,
Sure does.
and we had trouble getting the census numbers, and it was a disaster, and nobody was prepared. We had trouble with equal. So long story short, the legislators said we need to do something to fix this. So they proposed a bill that would allow candidates to move forward utilizing the signature counts for their old districts. So maybe they only needed 300 signatures, but now in the new LD they're going to need 4. So it said you can take the new numbers or the old numbers, whichever is lesser, in order to qualify for the ballot. So on the midnight hour on February 27th, I believe it was, 26th, it was the Friday, they were getting ready to pass this bill, and the county said, wait, we don't have a fix for precinct committeemen. So they decided to insert some language to fix the elections for precinct committeemen. And what happened is the Election Officers Association, the EOC, they met. There were 7 of them, represented 2, Scott Jared and Christy Passarelli out of Maricopa, met with some other election officials in other counties in Arizona, and they put together what they presented as a fix for the precinct committeeman elections. And that went to Ledge Council, and Ledge Council drafted it and put it into the piece of legislation. When they did so, they did not do what they would traditionally do, and that is color code or highlight the changes so that when our legislators reviewed it, they could see clearly that there were statutory changes made in the legislation. So long story short, it passed unanimously through all the Republicans and Democrats and signed off by the governor in an emergency order. So it took effect instantaneously. And what it does is it basically eliminates elections for precinct committeemen. So right now, to become a precinct committeeman through election, you get your 10 signatures, you fill out your application, and if there's more people that want to be precinct committeemen than there are openings, then you go to ballot and the electors vote. And so what this would do is take that election and eliminate it, and then move us to a situation where you apply to the county chairman, and the county chairman get to select the precinct committeemen, and then they have to be approved by the Board of Supervisors. This also limits us now, instead of 1 precinct committeeman per 125 registered Republicans, it's 1 precinct committeeman per precinct, regardless of population. So this is a real problem for husbands and wives, fathers, daughters, relatives. So as you can imagine, the Republican Party was not happy at all about this, raised a lot of ruckus about it, and the Democrats realized how badly we want to fix this. And so they are now leveraging this in order to insert things in the budget or kill certain election integrity bills.
Instead of just focusing on what needs to be fixed, I just want to remind you guys.
Yes, absolutely. But
Democrat PCs are not happy about this either because it's the same for them.
I don't know that the Democrat Party really cares about their precinct committeemen. I mean, I hate to say it.
I don't think the party does. I know that we talked to a few that were like, we're not happy about this. This is not, you know what I mean? So they're not happy either, but I don't think the party's listening to them.
No, the party is absolutely not listening. We did, however, get a repeal in the Senate of Section 4 yesterday. It does have to now move over and pass through the House. We don't know whether that's going to happen, but we got word that the Arizona Republican Party is actually suing the legislators for unconstitutional legislation. So because it violates the rights of not only the precinct committeeman candidate, but the rights of the electors. It disenfranchises the party voters from being able to vote in their representation. So this lawsuit was actually filed by the Republican Party and the county chairman for the Yavapai County Republicans Committee, and they filed it in Yavapai County. So we should be getting word on that. And I think it's a no-brainer.
Okay, perfect, because you got 1 minute left. I want to thank you for that update. That was perfect and wonderful. I want to thank the Chipsters out there for tuning in. You can listen to this show again if you missed it. Go to iHeartRadio, to Facebook, whatever.
It'll be on YouTube tomorrow.
Right. So thank you, Shelby Busch. Thank you, Cheryl Rosado. LD27 to be 11, LD19 to be 22. I'm Alice Lara. You are?
Don Jorge, and they're going to be two fantastic chairmen.
And we will be with you again next week, Tuesday at 4 p.m. And Chips and Salsa Show, I'm Alice Lara.
I'm Don Jorge.
Here on Central City Radio, Talk Central Phoenix. Thanks, Rock. Thanks, Julian. And you guys, thank you. And please spread the word. And see you next week. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Have a good one.